What was that, Ian? That was, hey! How are you? How's everything going? All of my friends in Janvier! All of my friends there when we all hang out at Sequoia. CP Services, Stat Oil. The youth service workers, not youth service workers, the youth workers. All of you. People from the RMWB. And usually we got Tim in the back on the camera. Right? And we all sit in, then a couple of you sit in those egg chairs. A couple of you on the couch. A couple of you in the rolling chairs. Janvier. Come on, Janvier. Huh? And Ross is back there. He's got his granola bars. And then they bring the waters. And fruit. Nobody ever eats the fruit. All you guys look for the granola bars with the chocolate chips. You set aside the fruit and dig for any sugar. That's what I see you. I know you do that. Come on now. If you're truthful, you know that that's what you do. Hey, what are we doing today? Coaching session. Coaching. So, questions at rmwbleaders.ca. Questions at rmwbleaders.ca. Some of you have already, that's the international word for email. That's it right there. Email. You ever watch that show, Duck Dynasty? I know that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now, but have you ever watched it? It's pretty funny. I watched it last night. It was pretty funny. All right, as always, lovely Margie is in the chat box right now.
Good afternoon, everyone.
There she is, lovely Margie, physically in the chat box. It was a tight squeeze today. Well, that's why we were a little late on the air. We were trying to get Margie in the chat box. Get in. Close the chat box. Get in there. Over my elbow. Get the hell in the chat box. It's been kind of a circus today. We started with the RMWB tracks at 9, and then 10:30. And then we had Fort Chip and Fort McMurray, the community track. And now you, 5 in a day. Come on. Get some energy. Attack the day with an energy and enthusiasm rarely known to man. So what are we doing? Big picture, holistic, proactive systems thinking. So I'm going to be here for the next 41 minutes to answer your questions. Now, some of you sent in questions prior. Very smart. Well done. Well done. But you could send in your questions now. Questions at rmwbleaders.ca or in the chat box where Margie is physically in. Now, here's the funny thing. We're talking about systems. We're talking about systems. Why? Because Archimedes taught us. Archimedes talked to us. Archimedes reached out to us. And I'm not talking about Archimedes, who lives down the street, who owns that Greek restaurant. I'm not talking about Archimedes. We're talking about Archimedes. Jeff was the one that came up with Archimedes. Archie, you know, he's from Newfoundland. He's from Clarenville. Moved out here to work in the patch. He goes back every once in a while. His kids just came out. Archimedes. No, not him. Archimedes. Right? And what did Archimedes teach us? Archimedes taught us that, hey, you can do just about anything if you got the right system. His fulcrum and his lever, his compound pulley, taught us that with the right system, you can do just about anything. And he helped us to realize that the whole world was a system, that there's the solar system, that there's the ecosystem, but there's also intangible systems, right? Cliques. Well, those people over there and these people over here, and we don't talk to them and they don't talk to us. And oh, by the way, don't go to that neighborhood because, you know, we just don't go to that neighborhood. And that neighborhood doesn't come over here. System. System. The unwritten rules. Well, you know, that's kind of an unwritten rule. That's kind of an unwritten rule. We don't do that. Well, that's a system. So there's tangible systems that you can touch and you can feel in the light. And then there's intangible systems, right? You can't touch them and feel them, but you can see when they're in play. That the whole world System. Systems, systems, systems. And that to rule the day in the 21st century, you need to be a big picture, holistic systems thinker. Why? Because there's not enough time, energy, and effort at your disposal to get done all the things you want to get done. That there's no possible or potential way for you to get done everything you want to get done. So you must have force multiplying systems. Force multiplying systems. Systems that actually take what you have and make more of it. How do you do more with less? Great systems. How do you take on the overwhelming challenges of the day? Great systems. And here's the tough thing. Systems impact exponentially. That's why bad government policy is really bad, because it impacts exponentially. Bad system or good system impacts exponentially. Holistic, big picture, proactive systems thinking. What does that mean? That I build the system for what I hope to achieve. So I reverse engineer. Here's what I want, so let me build a system to get there. Right? And that as long as you keep revisiting the system to see if it's effective, relevant, and still meaningful, I can stay ahead of the curve. Now, we said that systems can either organically grow up and take hold, right? They take hold. They just kind of happen, and they take hold. I don't know. It's just what we do around here. I don't know. Or, okay, we want this outcome, so let's assemble these parts and deeply integrate them to get that thing that we want to achieve. Like, thermostats. A thermostat on the wall, and then the HVAC system. I want it to be cold. I want it to be hot. The system. Same with the bicycle. The bicycle is a human mechanical interface that produces significant results and allows us to do a significant amount with very little. Go 30, 40, 50 kilometers an hour on that bicycle. Well, maybe I can't do that, but somebody can. And under their own power, they'd only be able to go 5, 6, 8, unless they're Usain Bolt. They're only able to go 5, 6, 8, 10 kilometers an hour or whatever. Systems. And so over the last 2 weeks, we've tried to give you a number of systems. A number of systems. A lot of systems. And remember, I told you I was going to give you more systems than you could possibly assimilate in the short period of time. And we really spent a lot of emphasis on time and maximizing its utilization. All right. I know we've got questions, so let's get to the questions that had previously been sent in. Good job, whoever did that. And we'll go to Margie, who is in the chat box.
Question number 1, explain high-level accounting.
High level, I think she couldn't read my writing. You mean high leverage activities or high impact activities.
That's it.
That's it. She knows what she's talking about. So here's the bottom line. The bottom line is this. What's a high impact or a high leverage or a high return on investment activity? So to the questioner, if you recall, what we were trying to do was we were trying to identify proactively those activities that get us more than others. Let me back up for just a second. The other mathematician that we highlighted, I got black marker on me. The other mathematician that we highlighted was that guy named Pareto. And Pareto said that 80% of the results came from about 20% of the activities. Now, he called them high leverage activities. I was using the language of high return on investment activities. Why were you doing that? Well, because remember $86,000? That we weren't just trying to manage our time, we were trying to maximize the impact of time. And so we wanted to identify, I got my handy dandy little board here. We want to identify those activities that when doing provide us a greater return. And then there were certain activities that when doing produce a lesser return, right? Right, where is it at? Right there, right here. Yeah, see that? There it is. And so he called these high leverage activities. I'm calling them high return on investment activities. But the question really is, what does that mean, Ian? What's a high return on investment or high leverage activity? What is that? Okay. If you're having trouble identifying them, because remember the task was to look at all of the different goals you have, or the roles that you play in your life, the goals that you have within those roles, and then to pick out the activities that get you there quicker. So let's use the example of kids. Taking your kid to the movie is a good activity. It can be fun. Maybe you're going to go see a kid's movie, a cartoon or whatever. It's going to be fun. We're going to movies. Woo! Here we go. Yeah. Woo! Maybe you drive up to Fort Mac or down to Edmonton or whatever. You can go to movies. And when you get to the movie, what do? Well, you go get some snacks, some Smarties, some popcorn. Woo! Go to movies. Yeah. And then what do you do for an hour and 48 minutes? Sit in the dark. You don't talk. You don't interact. But you do have a good time at the movie. And the kid on the way there and the way home talks a little bit about it. You share a little bit, chitty chat. Hey, all right. Woo, go to the movie. Now, I would say if the role that you have is dad or mom, that is a good activity. But if I only had an hour or two to allocate, would that be the activity that would give me the greatest return in building relationship with my kid? Well, probably not. Why? Because for an hour and 48 minutes, we're not going to talk. We're not going to share. We're not going to connect. We're not going to do anything. We're going to sit and look at a screen. And I'm going to do this. And then my little Nia's going to elbow me and say, Dad, wake up. You're embarrassing me. You're kind of snoring. Oh, yeah. This is a great movie about dogs. This is the greatest. Yeah, I love this cartoon. It's wonderful. I'm one of those guys that tilts my head back. And then my kids get embarrassed. You're not like that. So, is that a high return on investment activity? No. No, I put an hour in, I get about an hour. So what could I do differently? Well, maybe I do an art project with my kid for an hour. Or maybe we go and do an activity at a park where we can share and play and run and jump and throw the ball and build memories. Or whatever. Something where we can interact, something where we can talk, something maybe combined with physical activity. So we get sharing and physical activity. Or then maybe we see a sight. So we go on a walk and we share so we share and interact, we do physical activity, and we gain some nature or history or learning. Wow, I got 4 things happening there. So I go for a walk for an hour, I learn about nature, I build a relationship with my kid, and we get physical activity in. I got 4 things out of the hour. Go to the movies, I get 1 thing. Now I'm not advocating walking. You think I might be talking about healthy lifestyle. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm trying to make the point that I'm getting 4 things out of that hour in compared to the 1 thing out of the hour. So that's an example of a high return on investment activity. Here's one for bosses. Bosses, meeting with your people. Meeting with your people. You know, all bosses say, I need to meet with my people. I got to spend some more time with my people. I got to be with my people. But God, I got all this paperwork, and I got phone calls, and I got emails. I don't have time for my people. Got these fires to put out. Meeting with your people one-on-one, meeting with your direct reports one-on-one is a high return on investment activity. Why? Well, think about all the things that could come out of that interaction. 1, deeper trust. 2, clarity of expectations. In my meeting with them, I'm going to clarify expectations. How about 3, checking for quality? I'll be able to evaluate the quality of performance. 4, how about they get to better understand me? 5, I can identify any problems before they become problems. I can identify the genesis of the problem. So in that 45 minutes of the one-on-one meeting, I've accomplished at minimum 5 things, and we could probably list a bunch more. So if I have an hour in my day, should I put it into that, or should I put it into the thing I'm urgency addicted to? The email, the phone call, the whatever. So if I only have an hour, which is a better investment? If I only have $1, what's a better investment? Or $1,000? Or $5,000? What's a better investment? Because remember, time is a perishable commodity. So it only makes sense that Pareto was right, that 80% of the results come from 20% of the activity. So there are some activities that produce greater results than others. Wouldn't it be in my best interest to identify them? And then wouldn't it be in my best interest to proactively schedule them, time blocking, making an appointment with myself? The answer that I would suggest is yes. Here's another one, it's more family-based again. Supper, dinner, whatever you call it at your house. Supper. Supper for us is a high return on investment activity. But we're too busy, we're running around, we don't have time. And I always say this, you know what? When we make a meal together and sit and eat that meal together, that hour and a half that we spend is like 12 hours. How's that? We learn about what's going on in our kids' lives. They can tell us what's happening at school. Are they getting bullied? Are they getting beat up? Are they getting any of that? We can check for understanding on what they're learning. We can share our expectations. What's happening, the week, the rules, whatever. All in an informal and casual dialogue setting where we're building relationships, setting the tone for our family culture, establishing what we're about and our values, all over the breaking of bread and food. Now, that hour and a half that we spend both preparing and then consuming seems like a lot. But you know what? I just listed 4 or 5 things that we get out of it. So to answer your question very specifically, when evaluating an activity, say to yourself, if I can get 2, 3, 4, 5 things out of it, it's probably a high return on investment activity, right? It's probably that high, where am I at here? Yep. It's probably, the activity, but I get 2, 3, 4, 5 things out of it. It's a high return on investment activity. I do it, and it gets me nothing. And I don't want to say going to the movies gets you nothing, but it gives you little. It doesn't get me as much as going for a hike. Although the kids complain about going for the hike, they'd rather have the Smarties. But you know what I'm saying? You just compare them. Yeah, but I can't completely eliminate the low return on investment activities. No, but you want to mitigate your utilization of them, if at all possible. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. All right, I know we have more questions. Go ahead, Margie.
Second question. How do you use the delegation matrix?
All right, so how do you use the delegation matrix? So somebody took the time to watch the videos. Now on the portal right now, there's like 5 other videos. So there's a video about delegation. There's a video about motivation. There's a video about communication. There's a video about how to implement change. They're all on there. Systems. They're all on there for you to utilize and take advantage of, right? They're all systems for you to take advantage of. And I encourage you to do so. So, delegation. And the question of, well, how do you use that? Watch the video, basically, watch the video, Ian, but what do I do with it? Okay, so if I was going to implement, I don't like this shirt. If I was going to implement the delegation matrix, first I have to think about delegation as a whole. I think delegation is one of the most important tools, or effective delegation is one of the most important tools you can possibly have in your toolkit, period. One of the most important tools. I can't possibly think that there's anything more important than that. Why is that? Well, it probably ranks right up there with communication. Effectively communicating, effectively delegating. Because if I can effectively delegate, I empower. But I also mitigate risk of failure. I support, but I have deeper control. On one hand, I give greater freedom. On the other hand, I have somebody under my thumb. I know that's not the appropriate, the right way to say it. But really, I have both more control and I give more freedom all at the same time. Now, poor delegation sounds like this. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Or, how come you never let me do anything? Or, I can't believe you're doing that. Or, why don't you ever let me do that? Or, why are you doing that? Or how about this? Why won't they ever do anything? Or how about this? Oh my God, I'll never give them anything to do. Or I have to do it all. Those are all manifestations of ineffective or poor delegation. Organizations that thrive are organizations that are in alignment, that have great alignment. The better the alignment, the more effective the organization. Well, where does that alignment come from? The alignment of energy and effort and the like. You know where it comes from? It comes from effective delegation. Now, delegation is more than me just telling you what to do. It's more than that. Because, see, I got to manage that process. There's only two ways to get things done. You're going to do it or I'm going to do it. You're going to do it or I'm going to do it. You're going to do it or I'm going to do it. But some of the stuff that I give you to do, you're not ready to do. You're not qualified, or you're not any good, or you're not proficient in it. But I got to give it to you anyways because I'm slammed. Now, some of the stuff that I should just let you go and run with, I don't. I don't. You know why I don't? Because I don't trust you. So I get in your business and I meddle around and I micromanage you and it drives you nuts. All because of poor delegation. So I know this is a long-winded answer to your question, but I got to set it up for the other people that didn't watch the video, okay? All right. So the first thing I'm going to do to implement this delegation matrix is I'm going to take everything that somebody does and I'm going to put it on a sheet of paper. Everything that somebody does, put it on a sheet of paper. And the first thing I'm going to say to them is this: I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going through this leadership program with the Chubby Brown Man. That's me. I'm going through the leadership program with the Chubby Brown Man, and the Chubby Brown Man helped me to realize that maybe I haven't been as an effective a leader as I possibly could have been. And because I haven't been as effective a leader as I could have been, I want to apologize to you. But that's going to end today, because I'm going to get really good at delegating. But know this, I'm not going to hang you out to dry, because I know there's also been times when I haven't been there when you needed me. And there's been times when you didn't need me, but I've been in your business. We're going to try to eliminate that today. That's how I would handle the beginning of it. Bob. I just look at Bob and say, hey, Bob, Joe, Mary, whoever, I'm sorry. I haven't been as good as I could have been. But we're going to fix that now. And then I would take everything that they do and I would list it. And we're going to break it down based on proficiency. And based on proficiency, we're going to take everything that they do and we're going to put them into 4 categories. 4 categories. And I'm just using these symbols to use them, right? So come to this camera, Jeff. So square, circle, diamond, triangle. First thing we're going to do is look for the things that they're not so good at. They don't have great proficiency. Maybe they have no proficiency at all. Not because they're bad, just because, you know, maybe inexperience or lack of knowledge or whatever it might be. And we're going to identify those. So let's call them the square. This one and this one and this one go here. So those 3 go over there. That category or that bucket we're going to call ask and recommend. Ask and recommend. Thank you, Jeff. We're going to ask and recommend. Now, what do you mean ask and recommend? You're going to come to me, Bob, Mary, whoever. You're going to come to me and you're going to talk to me about doing it. And you're going to talk to me about what you want to do. You're going to ask me, but you're going to come with a recommendation. You're going to come with a recommendation in mind. Here's what I want to do. Here's how I want to do it. Okay, recommendation. Here's what I want to do. Here's how I want to do it. All right, that sounds good. I appreciate it. I like your plan. Go for it. Ask and recommend. Notice that it's not just ask, because then you're just building robots. Instead, ask and recommend so I can understand thought process, so I can understand background, I can understand insight, wisdom. Ask and recommend. Okay, ask and recommend. Then there'll be stuff left. And of the stuff that is left, we're going to identify those things where they have limited proficiency, some experience. And we'll identify those things. We'll put those over here. And in that category, we're going to act, A-C-T, act, and report immediately. You can go do it, but I want to know right away. Because if it does go sideways, I can step in and assist you and guide you and help you till it doesn't become a big mushroom cloud. Then there'll be some stuff left. And in the stuff that's left, we're going to grab those things that they have good proficiency. Good proficiency. Good proficiency. Good proficiency. Okay? That's going to be act and report periodically. Act and report periodically. Act, it's on your screen there. Act and report periodically. Go do it, and then as long as it's within our principles and values, you just touch it, tell me every once in a while. Then anything that's left over, we're going to put in act on own. Act on own. Act on own. Act on own. Go do it. Go do it. Don't even talk to me about it. Just go do it. Now look at those 4 categories. They're all based on proficiency. Act and recommend, act and report immediately, act and report periodically, act on own. What do you think it automatically does for you? Well, one of the things it automatically does is clarifies when you need to be around and when you don't. So when I'm sitting there and talking to them, I'm explaining, see, look, I will be with you in ask and recommend. I'll be here to support you. I'll be here to help you. You can count on me. In act and report immediately, I'm right here for you. Act and report periodically, well, you don't really need me. You and I both agree that you're pretty good at it, but I'm still here. Act on own. You don't need me at all. You know and I know that you have mastery of that subject matter. So you can do without me. My time is spent with that individual where I need to be and not where I don't. Also notice that it's about growth. So for this thing to work practically, to answer your question, I've got to be visiting it regularly. It's got to be a living, breathing document. Living, breathing document. It can't just be, I put it on the shelf. It's got to be real and meaningful, which means I would revisit it. Now maybe you revisit it every 120 days. You come back to it every 120 days. And what does that mean? That means every 4 months we sit down and we go through it. And we look at those things again. We go back through those things and we see, do they need to be moved? Does this need to move to this? And does that need to move to a diamond? And does the circle need to move back to a square? So in other words, it might be this. You have done an excellent job. When you come and ask and recommend in this subject, you have great insight. You have keen wisdom. I can tell you really know this. Move on. Take it to ask and recommend, act and report immediately or periodically, maybe even act on own. You're good at it, dude. Go for it. You don't need me. Oh, but you know what? In this area, you've been acting on your own, but we've had some stumbles. We've had some falls. Back it up a little bit so I can coach you a little bit more. See how it just changes my role? My role is just to help be a support to you. My role is just to help guide you and lift you and assist you. And that's the kind of leadership you want anyways, don't you? You don't want somebody in your business, but you do want them around when you need their help. The delegation matrix can do that. So it's got to be a living, breathing document, has to be revisited regularly, and it has to be built mutually. So what I want you to do is, if you haven't watched that video that's right there on the portal, I want you to watch the video. Look at the handout and see how you could implement it in your workplace. All right, Margie, next question.
Explain the meaning of time matrix.
Explain the meaning of the time matrix. Explain the meaning of the time matrix. Okay. So, I'm not going to explain the meaning of the time matrix to you today. What? That's because tomorrow morning you're going to get an email that will explain the time matrix. Because this week you were supposed to do an exercise. You came back out of the long holiday weekend, and on Tuesday morning you got an email from me as I sat in my hotel room. I think I was in, I don't remember where I was. Chicago maybe, I don't know. And I asked you to track your time, right? I asked you to track your time. So Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and tomorrow Friday, you were to track your time. Now, if you haven't done that, that's fine. You could do it next week, whenever. But what was the purpose of tracking your time? Because a couple of you sent me notes going, oh, it's like, you know, I've done this because we do projects. And when we do projects, we have to check our utilization and how much of our hours we put to a certain project. Well, yeah, that's called analysis, and that's really good. but we're proactive, big picture, holistic systems thinkers. So we're going to use this information to project. Because what we're looking for in this time matrix is, where does our time go? Does our time go into high leverage activities? So remember, and I'll remind you in tomorrow morning's email, you're supposed to make a list of all your high leverage activities. And by doing this time matrix, you're able to then look at the time matrix and look at those high leverage activities and say, well, how much am I doing of it? I'm going to use this example, although it may not be applicable to any of you, but it's a very simple example. One time I had a sales guy saying, I'm not making my sales numbers. I said, well, give me the 3 activities that you would say are most important to hit your sales numbers. He said, customer identification, getting on the phone and building, cold calling and building relationships, and taking care of my current clients. I said, all right, let's track your time. And we tracked his time for a week. And then I said, how many hours did you spend in the first one? 0. How many hours did you spend in the second one out of the 60 hours of the work week? 4. How many hours did you spend in the third one of customer relationship building, managing or maintaining your existing customers, customer maintenance? He said 2. So 2, 4, 2, 8. So he said those were the 3 activities that would be most important to him building business, and out of a 60-hour work week, he did it 8 hours. That's not even 10%. Well, that's just over 10%. Well, no wonder you're not hitting your sales goals. What is your time going? Emailing, this, that, paperwork, la, 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 la. Not going to be effective. So the purpose of the time matrix is to compare those high leverage activities to what's actually happening. Now, what hopefully you'll do next week is start to project. Sitting down on Sunday night or early Monday morning and starting to go through your week and say, okay, what are those activities that give me the greatest return? Let me time block them first, making an appointment with myself. Right? I'm going to put those in and make an appointment with myself. High leverage activities. Then I'm going to put in the activities that what? That I know are going to happen. I got this meeting, I got this deadline, I need to set aside some time for this, that, boom. Then I'm going to set aside time for those things I can assume. I can assume I'm going to answer email. I'm going to assume I got to answer some phone calls. I got to assume. Those are things I can assume. Next thing you know, I got my schedule for a week. But the key is this, I said the word earlier, alignment. Are my daily activities in alignment with my long-term goals? Are the daily activities, weekly activities, monthly activities in alignment with where I'm going with my life? So I would suggest you reverse engineer that. Here's where I want to go with my life. Now let me figure out what I'm doing today. My little Nia was in here a little while ago, and Jeff asked her, do you want to be an Olympian? Because she's a swimmer. And Nia was like, yeah. And that's why I'm going to the pool right now. So she's like, today she's going to be in the pool twice. Two practices today. Now, is that because I'm pushing that? No, I'm not. I don't. Her mom and I don't push her. If she wants to do it, she can do it. But she understands that if she wants to be successful, there has to be a time investment. There has to be a time investment. The more that you can align your time with what you want to do and what you want to be, especially if you can select those activities like Pareto tells us that are closest to helping you reach your goals, the more likely that your goals will be reached. That 20% productivity to the 80% result, or 20% of the activity to the 80% result. So the time matrix is used to check that out, to kind of do a dipstick check, to kind of do a evaluation, to check the pulse, if you will. It's an instrument check. So watch the video tomorrow morning, check it out, okay? Check it out so that you know if you're on track, okay? All right, you only got a few seconds left. Any questions, Margie? All right, so questions at rmwbleaders.ca or in the chat box. Okay, we've only got 5-6 minutes left now. And don't wait for the last 30 seconds like somebody did earlier today, like 3 questions came in the last 30 seconds. Don't do that. I asked the questions earlier. Commitment. So, a couple days ago, I sent you an email and I asked you to make a commitment. Right? Where's your commitment? What's your commitment? What's going on with your commitment? What's up with your commitment? And some of you sent in your commitment, and I thank you for doing so. Others of you did not send in your commitment. Now, I'll give you a little bit more time. I'll give you a little bit more time to make your commitment. But make no mistake, in a week or two, I'm going to send you a note and asking you, where's your commitment? I'll either going to send you a note and saying, how's your commitment coming along? Good job on your commitment. Or I'm going to send you a note that I call a gentle nudge, and I'll be like, where is your commitment? Now, what's funny is, this is where people usually bail. Huh? Yeah, because now I'm starting to get in your business. I'm starting to push a little bit. Up until now, it's been kind of fun and interesting, and if you didn't want to do something, you didn't have to, and it's all good, no big deal. Now, I'm not asking you to make the commitment because I'm some kind of taskmaster. I'm asking you to make the commitment because I know it's a high return on investment activity. It's a high leverage activity. Think of all of the different things that get accomplished if you make a commitment, if you follow through on that commitment, if you complete the commitment. 1, self-esteem, self-worth. 2, you gain a better skill. You're more skilled at something. 3, you gain the skill of learning how to change, which for an adult is huge. You know how many adults actually change by the time they get to be the age we all are? Very, very, very few. They might change some surface things, but fundamental change doesn't happen unless they're in crisis, unless they've hit rock bottom, or unless there's a dire need. So you gain that. How about this? If you're a leader, position of formal leadership, you gain the respect of the people around you, the admiration. And even if you're not a formal leader, you may gain that. You may pick that up. You may glean that. All of a sudden, look, remember what my criterion was for a high leverage activity? If you can knock down 3 to 5 things with it, pretty powerful. Well, look, I've already named 6 that would be an impact of you picking out one thing, focusing on it, bringing it to fruition. That's a high leverage activity. I don't have time! Okay, well, I can't. I mean, I can't force you. Now, look, again, this isn't to put the guilt trip on you, because some of you, you know, you're not able to participate along the way. So maybe make your commitment, but it's going to take the next 6 months. Fine. But make the commitment. Maybe you make the commitment, but it might take the next 8 months. Fine. But make the commitment. Because I also know that once you've made that commitment, you've put it in writing, you've sent it to me, now it's real. What's the difference between a goal and a dream? Goals you put on paper. Goals you come up with plans. Goals you ask others to hold you accountable. A hope, a dream, that's just something that rolls around in your head and rarely come true. Dreams don't always come true. But goals, there's a greater likelihood. So you need to make your commitment. All right, last chance. Any questions? Put them in. questions@rmwbleaders.ca. Or you can put them in the chat box. What do we got to look forward to next? Well, you know, we're not that far from the end. If you think about it, we're not that far from the end. We've got next week, when we all meet there in Janvier at Sequoia. Sequoia, Sequoia, Sequoia. I don't know. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. But that sounded good, didn't it? Sequoia. Anyways, we're all going to meet there. And we're going to do Catalyst for Responsibility. How do I get other people to buy in? How do I get other people to buy in? How do I get other people to take ownership? And we're going to talk about the magic force. What? That's right. Have you ever read the book The Hobbit? J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit? Well, we're going to teach you the true magic force. That's ridiculous. Yeah, we're going to teach you about how to take this magic force, instill it, cultivate it, deploy it. This magic force is called pride. How do I intentionally and strategically use pride? And whether that's building pride in a community, whether that's building pride in a group, whether that's building pride in a workplace, How do I build both organizational and individual pride? How do I do that? How do I act as a catalyst for responsibility? And then we're going to come to the end of June, and we're going to be done. We're done in like 5 weeks. Yeah, that's it. It's all over. Call it a day. 5, 6 weeks. We're done. That's how quick it goes. Now, you can't get behind. There's no possible way you can get behind. Why? Because it's self-paced. If you can come to the sessions, come to the sessions. So if you've been doing this thing by archive and you haven't come to a session, come. Come next time or the time after. Just come. I'd love to meet you. Because I know there's a few of you that you're not able to come. But if you can squeeze it out, come. We'd love to meet you. We have a good time there at Sequoia in Janvier. All right? Okay. In absence of no questions, I'm going to say this. I want you to have a great weekend. We'll see you next Wednesday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.